You're listening to Parasearch Radio, news, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch Radio or their affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, welcome to the first episode of Haunted Connections here on Parasearch Radio. My name's Neil and my co-host is Jayne Rowley.
Hi, everybody.
If you used to listen to us on Castlemead Radio, you'll know us by now. This show is all about Haunted Connections, so primarily it's about haunted objects and things like that. So we are very lucky to have our first guest, who's Jayne Harris. Hi, Jayne.
Hi, Neil. Hi, Jayne.
How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, very good, thanks.
Jayne has been working hard at work today, no doubt.
Yes, and Neil hasn't been working hard at all today. He has had the grandchildren, so I think he's...
I've had the two little grandchildren, so I think it would have been easier to do a full 8-hour shift at work.
Yes, I agree with that. I've been at home as well today, Neil. I've got my kids, they're 7 and 5. So, yeah, I would happily go to an office and sit in peace instead of that, I can tell you.
Yeah, my grandkids are 3 and 1.
Oh.
And it's as you get older, it is harder to look after little kids.
Yeah. Especially when they're that age, because they climb all over you, don't they? They don't just sort of sit there. They're all at the back of the sofa and all over you and everything. Well, mine were.
And jumping.
Yeah.
The good game at the minute is jump on Grandad. Anyway, let's get started. It's about haunted objects tonight because you're a collector of haunted objects as well, aren't you, Jayne?
I have been over the years, yeah. I don't collect things anymore, really. I've still got a few bits that I've held on to, but over the last sort of, where are we now? 2019, so 20 years odd. I built up quite a bit, actually, quite a collection, and we used to keep it in our old house. It was in the cellar, which was always a bit of a, that's a bit grim and a bit spooky, but it was purely just practical, to be honest with you. You know, we had all this stuff that we had young kids, you know, they were babies then, and we just didn't want it out and about for them to pick up and break and whatever. So it was all just in the cellar. But as we built up more and more, and we had display cabinets and we had cameras down there and stuff, it turned into a bit of a mini kind of museum.
Yeah.
So when I think my eldest daughter got to about 4 and she started picking up Peggy the doll and walking around with her, and the doll and her were about the same size. And I started getting a bit freaked out with that. So that's when we sort of made the decision, okay, I think maybe we move on and let all the objects move on as well. So the bits that I kept were mainly jewellery, actually, just some lovely, silver. I'm a magpie for silver, so there were just a few bits that I couldn't get rid of, and an old clock as well and things like that. But most of it, it found new homes.
So do you miss them?
Sometimes I do. The thing I miss the most actually is Peggy, which is quite odd. But I think that period, those 2 years, were so kind of full on, and having that doll opened so many doors to new experiences to me, and I met so many people through, the experiences we had with her, that, when she was gone, it was a bit weird. It was like I'd sort of adopted out one of my children, and I was thinking, this is weird. I'm missing a doll. But it's that kind of, it's not just the doll or the object. It's everything about what having that object means, and brings for you, doesn't it? So, when I saw her for the first time in her room at the museum, in like a case, and no one around her and stuff, I felt a bit like, oh no, she's in a little cell. She's been put in a prison cell, my doll. But I mean, I understand, and people's experiences with her since she's been there have just been amazing. The activity hasn't changed, so it's good because I still get to hear all of these wonderful stories, but I haven't got the kind of pressure and responsibility of having her in my house, which is a bonus. to be
Okay,
honest.
of course, that's at Zach Bagans' museum in Las Vegas, isn't it?
That's right, yeah, the Haunted Museum. Yeah, so she's got her own room in there, which people have to sign a waiver if they want to go in.
Really?
Yeah, just because I think the level of things that went on with her for people, I think purely from a legal point of view, I think Zach and his legal team were probably quite keen to make sure no one sued them if anyone had a heart attack or something. So, yes, you literally sign your life away when you walk in that room.
Oh, right.
So what sort of activity did Peggy sort of generate?
Well, when we first had her, this was going back to 2014. The house that we went to, the lady had contacted me because she said that she bought this doll at, a car boot sale, I think, or a market or a fair or something, purely because she liked the look of it. And it reminded her of a doll that she'd had when she was young, because Peggy's a sort of 1960s doll. And she said, but within weeks, she started to feel really ill. So there was the illness. Then she started hearing footsteps in the house. And it built and built and built over about 6 months. She would hear the bathroom light going off and on. And in the end, she suffered with insomnia, so she couldn't sleep at all. And so she couldn't work. Mm-hmm. And she had a psychic medium come in who said, have you brought something into the house, something new recently? And all she could think of was the doll. She'd never connected the two before. Yeah. And she bought the doll in. I mean, it had no name then. It wasn't called Peggy. It wasn't called anything. And she bought the doll in, and the psychic medium said, oh, my goodness, that's your problem. She said that there's something very wrong with that doll, and you should get rid of it. But the lady who owned it didn't want to get rid of it. She was kind of, I think, in two minds. She didn't really believe it. So she put it in the shed out of the house. But things still went on. So she called us in the end. I think we were pretty much a last resort. She hadn't wanted to admit that it was anything paranormal. But when we got there, we were sort of pointed to this shed in the garden and said, it's in there. And she was just haggard. People who haven't slept, you could tell she hadn't slept. Yeah. Very drawn looking, dark eyes. And she kind of opened the door and looked out at us, and all the curtains were twitching. All the neighbours were wondering what was going on. And we were sent round to this outbuilding, and in there, in a roll of carpet, was Peggy, was this doll. Mm-hmm. And the medium that worked with us at the time, she came with us, and when she walked into this outbuilding, she came out and said, it's like I'm on a boat. It's completely unbalanced in there. There's something going on with the energy in that outbuilding, in that shed, that's just wrong. So when we brought the doll out, she started feeling the same as the other, that, something's definitely not right. And so we took Peggy, still no name, just the doll. And we got an email 3 days later from the lady who'd owned us saying that she'd had the first good night's sleep she'd had in months. Yeah. And so gradually she started to feel better. But when the doll was with us, I've never really had any physical experiences or problems at all, being involved in the paranormal. But when I had Peggy, for the first couple of weeks were okay. And then I started to feel quite ill. And it was kind of you couldn't put your finger on it. It was sort of like a heavy cold was about to come on, but didn't really ever come out. Just aching, fatigued. And in the end, after 2 weeks of that, I practically couldn't get out of bed. I was so exhausted. And there wasn't any reason for it. I had tests and stuff, and they were all normal, blood tests for whatever. So I couldn't ignore the fact that, okay, this is a bit of a coincidence. This doll's now in my house, and I'm having this kind of problem. Mm-hmm. So our medium took the doll for, I think, 4 days or 5 days. And within that time, I started to feel normal again. Yeah. So that's how it started, really. But I think the Peggy, the name, actually didn't come about until I decided to take a photo of the doll and put it on the Facebook page with no information at all, literally just a photo. Yeah. And overnight that night, we had about 80, I think, just over 80, either emails or Facebook messages from people literally all over the world. I printed them all out and kept them in a folder because I couldn't believe it. Of just saying, what is going on with that doll? You know, their dogs were behaving erratically, barking at the laptops, barking at the screens. Phones were freezing. People were hearing things in their house. It was just madness. And I remember sitting there with my husband looking at all these messages, and we were sort of looking at each other a bit like, this is weird. Because by this point, I'd been kind of researching and working with, I suppose, objects for over 10 years, about 15 years, I think. So it was something that I'd never experienced before. So she's definitely, and still is, one of the most unusual cases I've ever worked on and experienced or even heard of.
Yeah, it's fascinating, I must admit. So what got you into this haunted objects side of it?
I've always been interested in the paranormal. I didn't really call it the paranormal initially. I suppose it was just kind of the unexplained, the mysterious. When I was a kid, really. But not objects. It wasn't until I was about, about 15, 16, and I started going to spiritualist churches with my mum, who's always been a big believer in mediumship, and my nan as well. And we started going, and I remember meeting a lady there who said that she had a haunted house. But as I was talking to her, I noticed some other women were whispering and talking as well. And when I spoke to them later, they said, "Oh, be careful of her. You know, she's a bit of a nutter. She reckons she's got this doll, this haunted doll." And I'd never ever heard of it before. I mean, I knew, like the Chucky films and things. Yeah. I knew there was that kind of horror perception, but I'd never really heard anyone kind of normal say anything about a haunted doll or a haunted object. So I said, all right, okay. Well, anyway, I was fascinated. So I spoke to this woman some more, and I said, I've heard something about a doll with you. Have you got a doll that's a bit weird? And she was so blasé about it and so matter of fact. Oh, yeah, I have. Oh, yeah, she turns the TV on and, does this and that. And I remember thinking, okay, maybe she's a bit of a nutter. But the next week at the spiritualist church, she was there again, and I spoke to her a bit more. And she said, and I told her, I am interested in all things like that, weird and wonderful. And she said, oh, you should come round and see for yourself. She said, I'm not mad. So I did. And when I got in there, I sat down, and she went off to make me a cup of tea. And as I sat down, the TV came on, but it was just the static, like on Poltergeist. It was like, I thought, no. And my gut reaction was that this is a setup, There's no way that could happen. But I was looking around. She was completely on her own. She didn't have the remote with her. It was on the coffee table. And we just sat and talked for hours, and she would tell me about all of these unusual things that would go on, and she was convinced it was because of this doll. So I started reading a bit about it, going to libraries and stuff then. So you couldn't really find much on the internet. This was sort of 1990, 1998, 97 maybe. So, you didn't go on the internet and research stuff like you do now. So, I read books, and I found out a bit about psychometry, and I suppose that's where it started, really. And then I think people found me then. Yeah. I think word got around in the spiritualist church and in those kind of circles that, she knows a bit about objects, or she's interested in that. And so more people started coming up to me and saying, well, people think I'm mad. I don't normally tell anyone, but... And then you get that story, don't you? I mean, you know what it's like as well, Neil, Yeah, definitely. You get people come to you with things and that they won't really tell anybody else, but because they kind of feel like you'll accept what they're saying, they'll tell you. So that's how it started, really. And then I suppose it all really snowballed when I joined social media, because I'd always kind of resisted social media for so long that, I don't know, I think it got to about 2012, and it was just one of those things where you kind of can't avoid it forever because it's just huge, isn't it? And I thought if I ever want to connect with other people who are into this as well, it's, I'm silly not to join social media. So I did. And that's where all us crazy folk now get together and find each other, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I must admit, that's probably the best thing about this place is when people come and tell you the stories. And like I said, they couldn't tell the stories anywhere else. So I find that fascinating. I remember when I first talked about opening this place, or going into haunted objects, quite a few people in the paranormal field said I was crazy. Mm. Did you get that?
Yeah, I think it was. Now, obviously, you and I and other people, that there are more people interested in it. But I certainly know when I started on social media in 2012, you were a nutter. I was a complete nutter. And it took a while, really, for kind of people to learn a bit more about me and realise that actually I've just got a general interest in the paranormal. I'm not some crazy doll collector who thinks her dolls are alive. I just got an interest in all areas. One of them happened to be objects. But you're right, yeah. I mean, it's taken off massively. I think, obviously the films like the Annabelle films and that help because there then becomes a more widespread sort of global interest. But I think just having a platform for your curiosity helps anyway. The amount of people that I met on social media who actually didn't really have an interest in the paranormal, but happened to own a doll or an object or whatever that seemed to display unusual activity was mad. They didn't know about hauntings and haunted buildings. They didn't go on ghost hunts. They didn't do anything like that. They just collected objects. But no, you're right. Yeah, it's taken a while. But you've just got to, I wasn't about to just turn around and say, oh, okay, then I'm not going to be interested in that because no one else is, and I don't want to look mad because
right.
I was interested in it. So
well, it obviously fascinated me and my team because we spend hours and hours and hours up here with the items. So.
Yeah. And I do like Jane's point about social media because it's really nice when you can actually sort of join a group and it's all like-minded people and you can all discuss things that you wouldn't normally discuss, like at work or even perhaps with some family, and it's really nice to be able to have open conversations with like-minded people.
Yeah, and it's funny actually, you find over time, well I did anyway, I found over time that it was one of those things I didn't really tell people. So, I wouldn't tell the moms at the school gate and I wouldn't tell people that my husband worked with or friends or anything like that. And then just slowly, it kind of leaked out, I suppose, to everyone. There was an article in one newspaper when I'd had a puppet. So suddenly all of my friends saw that and they were like, what's this? What's this all about? And it's like, oh, no. It's like some huge secrets came out. But actually, it's amazing because there's not one person that's kind of reacted negatively about my involvement or interest in the paranormal. And actually, more people have been intrigued than have been sort of shocked, which has surprised me. There's people I know who are sort of very conservative and straight-laced and down the line and very matter of fact. But when they hear about an experience of mine or a place I've been or whatever, they're interested and, they'll just sit and listen. And then 9 times out of 10, they'll always have an opinion. Most people, whether, they call themselves a believer, a skeptic, on the fence, they've got an opinion. Yeah. And I think most of us, most people would just love to know if there is anything. I think some people just consider it more than others and think about it more than others. I think given half the chance, I think anyone would, want to have a paranormal experience. Why wouldn't you,
Yeah, definitely. We've found that as well.
Yeah.
So is there any item, supposedly haunted object, that you wouldn't research into all around the world?
Probably not. I'd probably like to have a bit of a bash at anything, really. I mean, The Dybbuk box is kind of a difficult one because I've always been quite a big believer in there being dark forces. I don't really like the words demons, but, you know, where there's light, there's dark, where there's good, there's bad, you know, there has to be something else.
Yeah.
And it's something that I'm not massively knowledgeable on. So something like that would not scare me, but it would concern me to sort of, I'd feel like I was dabbling, you know, in something that I didn't really understand. Other objects that I just wouldn't really be keen on going near are things that are connected to sort of murders and, you know, especially child, you know, murders or serial killers. You know, there's obviously at the moment, Zach Bagans is in the headlines because he's buying all sorts of stuff, Charles Manson's murder house and things like that. And obviously it's intriguing if you've got a lot of money and you don't know what to spend it on. Maybe you buy the house that Charles Manson murdered Sharon Tate in. But for me, it's kind of, there's a line really between bad taste and paranormal interest. And I think things like that are just maybe taking it a step too far. But for objects, no, I'd pretty much have a little dig into anything really. How about you, Neil? Is there anything that you wouldn't want to touch?
I would have a dig in, like you say, your expression, dig in with everything. For example, they go on about the Annabelle doll.
Oh, yeah.
Over in America. I wouldn't mind having that over here for a few weeks.
No, I think, I don't see that. I mean, if it's in for a penny, in for a pound, isn't it, really? You can't kind of say, right, okay, this is what I do. Oh, but no, I don't want that object. You can't sort of pick and choose. They kind of choose you, don't they?
They do. I think they do choose you. And we've got a really negative mirror in the sounds room that a lot of people are drawn to. But it's the mirror is fascinating. But I think the mirror is sort of separates Haunted Antiques Centre to other locations. That the mirror is special. What do you think, Jane?
Yeah, I think so too. And we do have a lot of items that you wouldn't necessarily sort of perhaps think of them as perhaps being say haunted or having some sort of energy attached to them, but they seem to make their way to the centre. And once they're here, you know, we do work with all the items, and it's some of the results are amazing. But it always intrigues me how they actually make their way to the centre, because they're obviously meant to be here.
Yeah, I believe in that. I think with people and places and objects and anything, you do have a certain path, and you will encounter certain people, you will visit certain places, and you'll own certain things that you're supposed to. And, you know, we don't always know why at the time, but it kind of becomes clear later in life. You know, it might be weeks down the line, it might be months, it might be years. But, I do believe that we're all kind of led to where we should be and to what we should be doing. I've always been a big believer in that. But you mentioned your mirror. Mirrors, I've got quite a strong belief in mirrors. Yeah. And it's interesting because during filming for the How My House is Haunted for Series 2 recently, I can't give anything away really, but what I will say is we went to one particular location and I did a mirror experiment with several mirrors. And I got a photo, well, I got two photos actually, which just blew us all away. We couldn't believe what we saw in the reflection of the mirror in one of these photographs. So I definitely think, I don't know whether I'm along the lines of the Victorians, that they capture people's souls. You know, the Victorians used to cover them up, didn't they, if someone died, because they thought, you know, capture their soul. But I do think there is something in the chemical makeup of a mirror, you know, the physics of it, how it reflects, you know, that there is something definitely about mirrors. I mean, people think they're portals, don't they? But no, it's interesting you say yours. I used to own a mirror that people wouldn't look at. It was only a small handheld Victorian mirror, but people had claimed to see things in it. When they looked in it, they would see figures behind them. And so people wouldn't look in it. And I took it along to, it was a Halloween do at the Potteries in Swadlincote.
Yeah.
We took along our sideshow. It was just about sort of 8 or 9 unusual objects, just for like a bit of Halloween fun, really. And there was cursed things and whatnot, and people could come up and have a look. And there were 2 ladies who picked up this mirror, and when they looked in it, they saw 2 figures behind them in the room in the potteries. And when we all looked around, and obviously there was no one there, and I told them, I said, people do see shadow figures when they look in that mirror. And they couldn't believe it. I think they were quite stunned, because they were sort of, it was fancy dress. It was there for a bit of fun, a bit of light-heartedness, and that was probably their spookiest experience to date. So yeah, I think so. I'm not surprised at all that you have a lot of people that are kind of either drawn to or kind of pushed away from that mirror.
Yeah.
Don't want to look in it.
It's interesting. A lot of people are drawn to it, but then a lot of people won't go anywhere near it. I find that fascinating. That you get the 2 extremes.
But of course, there's also the other layer to it, isn't there? Where, maybe not looking for other things in the mirror, but how your own face can change as well. With transfiguration, and it can happen to people who aren't mediums. They'll be looking in the mirror and suddenly they either imagine or they can physically see changes. I had a lady once who was looking in a mirror in an old bedroom, and she said, I can see a moustache. I can see it's like growing. It's coming down my chin. And what she described was a colonel that used to live at the house, and that was his bedroom, but she knew nothing about it. So it's really interesting, just kind of, which area of the brain was she tapping into then? What was going on there for her when she was looking in that mirror? So, yeah, it is fascinating.
Do you find people still contact you even today about haunted objects? Yeah,
they do. Yeah, quite often. Usually through Facebook, actually, yeah. Twitter and things are more sort of general stuff, but usually through Facebook I will get contacted by people who have either got objects, that they don't want anymore, or they're not collecting anymore, or that they're worried about. I don't get as many messages. I mean, I used to get literally sort of 20 or 30 a day about different objects. People wanted me to investigate, visit their house and so on. But it is less now. I'd say I probably get maybe 3 or 4 a week from people. And it's the same kind of thing, really. They've either inherited something or they bought something, an antique shop, and it just doesn't feel quite right. It always surprises me how sort of interviews and articles I did a couple of years ago, there are some people who are kind of just finding them and reading them now and contacting me, and I'm having to say, I don't actually do that much anymore, sorry. And and they're kind of like, I've just read your interview about the dolls, that you've got all these dolls in your cellar, and I've got one, and there's something weird going on with it. And I sort of have to say, yeah, that's a bit of an old interview, that is. I'm sorry. It's kind of, yeah, but I think more and more people now are open to the idea, so they're kind of hitting the charity shops, hitting the junk shops, looking for things, trying to tune into things. And so, yeah, I mean, there's an element, I suppose, of suggestion. And I imagine a lot of people who are just curious about it are going into charity shops, junk shops, and seeing something that's old and assuming that it's got an energy with it. And a lot of the time it's not, it doesn't have to be old, as you know. It can be anything that anyone's owned, loved, cared for, whatever. But yeah, I used to sort of love walking around the charity shops with our psychic medium, because she'd say, oh, let's go over there a minute. Oh, what's that? And even now, when I'm sort of wandering around, sometimes I'll have a quick look in, but I'm not psychic at all. So I just think, yeah, there's a doll there. And I'll just keep on walking past, I'll see these dolls in the window. And it's, in one way, it seems a lifetime ago that I was, that I had all of those dolls and objects and was working with them so much. It was so intense. I'd leave cameras running in the cellar, and the next day I'd have to go through all of the footage, and it was so consuming. But you can't, once you commit to doing it, as you know, it, you've got to do it then, because you miss a day, you might miss something amazing on the footage or whatever. So, it was a big commitment, but it never leaves you that kind of interest, because, as I say, even now I'll walk past a shop, an antique shop or whatever, and I can't resist having a little mooch, but I resist the temptation to buy. Yeah.
It does get quite addictive, doesn't it? Quite quickly. Once you start with paranormal things, it does get very addictive very quickly.
It does. Yeah, it does. And I mean, for you guys, you've got a separate place where you can keep all of yours. Mine were all at home. Can you imagine that? It was like literally they were spilling out of the cellar, and I was sort of having the odd doll propped up in the dining room, or a clock on the mantelpiece, and my husband was sort of like, just take those down with everything else. I don't think we want things up here.
Yeah, well, I started my collection.
Like I said, there's one or two things that I've kept, but smaller things that don't take up too much space.
Yeah, I started my collection in my carport, and they used to come through into the house. So that used to be quite alarming for my wife. Even footsteps going up the stairs, and seeing somebody standing at the bottom of the bed. So that was a bit scary for her.
Yeah, I bet it was. Well, it's kind of, I had a lot of people who used to say to me, you're mad. You're actually inviting a haunting into your house. You are welcoming a spirit or a ghost. You don't live in a haunted house. Why are you making it a haunted house?
Yeah.
It's sort of trying to explain that I'm not. If I move that object out, whatever energy is with it, whatever activity will go with it. It's not staying here.
That's right.
It's got nothing to do with this place. It doesn't care about the bricks and mortar that's here. It's the item. So.
Yeah. What I find is interesting, just lately, I'm having so many people message me and asking me if I sell haunted items or how can they buy haunted items. And it seems to be getting more and more.
Yeah, there was years ago, about, how long? About 4 years ago, no longer than that, thinking about 6 years ago. There were a few websites and obviously eBay. I think you can still get things on eBay, can't you? I don't look, but I mean, it used to be terrible. And I think eBay put in some rules or something that you couldn't. There was something they did anyway that stopped it, I think, or tried to stop it. But it's just one of those things where what do you do? I mean, I did an interview recently. I went down to MTV Studios because there was a presenter there who'd bought a haunted doll from eBay to do a piece about it. So she had it for a week and she recorded all these things. And there were one or two unusual things. But when I went down there and she said, right, I want to introduce you to the doll. And it was just this little porcelain doll with a shoe missing, totally unassuming. And she said, can you feel anything with it? And I said, well, no, because I don't do psychometry. I'm not a medium. I'd need to have it probably for months to kind of get an idea of whether there's anything going on with it. So the idea, that people can just jump on eBay and, haunted painting, haunted doll, it's I don't know. People have to spend their money on something, I suppose. And if it's a hobby, if it's an interest, then that's fair enough. It's not the way that I would recommend people go about it. But
no,
you can't stop people.
That's what we tell people who come to the centre. I said it's up to you, but I would basically keep away from haunted dolls on eBay.
Yeah.
Because, like you say, it takes months to even get anything from them.
Yeah.
Also, I'm finding a lot of people will send me a photo and say, "Is this haunted?" And I say, "I haven't got a clue. Sorry."
Yeah. I get that. I get a lot of photos and stuff, and you can't. You need to. I mean, even without being a medium, you still need to physically see the object and spend a bit of time with it, before you're going to know. But I think it's. I think the reason a few years ago people found it a bit difficult is because it seemed like a relatively new concept. People thought, oh, here we go. So I've heard about haunted houses and buildings. What's this latest kind of gimmick? Yeah. But it's not. It's an ancient thing. Japanese used to take apart their puppets so that the puppets couldn't come to life and kill people at night. That's thousands of years ago. That was the belief. So it's it does go right back, but it wasn't in popular culture, so people didn't really know about it.
Yeah.
So no, it's not. It's not a gimmick. It's real. For one of the want of a better kind of phrase, it's just one of those things that happens.
Yeah.
It's like a building. A building is just a big, large, inanimate object, isn't it? It's no different.
Yeah.
So why would you believe that a building can be haunted, but you don't believe that an object can? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and I especially that's why I chose haunted antiques. I think antiques were loved and cherished items. So I think that it's turning out to be going well, isn't it? Because of antiques.
Yeah.
Because the spirits stay around them.
Yeah, they do. I mean, especially, it's morbid maybe, but if someone's passed away wearing something that they've worn every day for their life, a watch, a wedding ring, that energy is there. It doesn't go anywhere. It can't be destroyed. It doesn't. It just dissipates. It's retained, and I think that when that happens, those people in spirit retain a connection to that item. They have to. Part of their energy is in it. It's with it.
Yeah.
So, and it's very much the same as the little cottage down the road that's haunted by the old lady who lived there for 70 years. Well, yeah, it will be, because her energy's there. All of her emotions. There's the joy, there's the fear, there's the sadness. It imprints. It doesn't just go nowhere.
Yeah. So let's talk about TV now. You've just been filming How My House is Haunted. How did you enjoy it?
Telebox. Yeah, we'll talk about Telebox. Oh, yeah, it was, I tell you what, it was brilliant. It was hard work, very hard work. But it was amazing. It's an amazing opportunity, I did enjoy it. Barry and Chris are just hilarious. They're brilliant. I'd never worked with or met Chris. I'd spoken to Barry very briefly, but I'd only ever heard good things about him from people who did know him. So I sort of knew that, I think we're all going to get on. Yeah. But we just absolutely love each other. I love those two, honestly. They are, and it's weird because you spend so much time with people that you do feel like you know them really, really well. And then suddenly it's all finished. It's like, oh, quite miss everyone now. Yeah. But it was great. We went to some brilliant places. 12 episodes over 6 weeks. 3 days spent at each location, so it's intense. It's kind of 3 days at one, on to the next 3 days. Then you might get 1 day off if you're lucky, or it might be travelling. You might be travelling to the next one. So but we're still doing voiceover. We're still sort of getting all the episodes ready. But we've been lucky enough to see them. We've seen most of them now and seen sort of the rough cuts, how they look. They look amazing. Oh, I'm so pleased. I was a bit. When I sort of got the first phone call, the initial phone call asking me if I'd be interested, I hadn't seen any of the first series. So I was just a bit kind of apprehensive. And I said, do you mind if I just go away and watch a couple and then, let you know, like call you back in a couple of days or whatever? And actually, I found them on, I think, the player, on the really, whatever you call it. I'm not very au fait, but whatever. The player thing. And I watched, I think, 20 minutes of one episode, and I thought, yes, definitely I want to do it. I loved how it looked. It looked really artistic, really cinematic, just different to other shows that I'd seen. So, I phoned them back and I said, yeah, you can count me in. I'll do it. So,
that's good then. I've actually met Barry. He's been up to the centre.
Yeah.
Investigator for the Haunted Live guys. I was amazed how down to earth he is.
Oh yeah, he is.
I must admit, I thought, he's been on TV. He's a bit of a personality. He's going to come up here thinking, oh, this is a little bit poxy place. But he wasn't. It was lovely.
And he did have some really good experiences here, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
He sat in the wheelchair, and the wheelchair moved on its own while he was in it.
That was funny.
Yeah, and he did jump out. He was quite startled with that, wasn't he? And he was sitting in the sounds room around the table, and the table actually moved on its own, and we've got footage of that. So he did have some very good experiences while he was up here, didn't he?
Yeah.
Do you know, it's often the most unassuming places, and sometimes the smallest places that you go to that give you the most anyway. I think, Barry's been doing a lot of years now, like I have, and when you sort of rock up to big manor houses and things, it's lovely. It's amazing to spend time in these beautiful places, but on the flip side, it's equally, if not better than, just to pull up to a terraced house or a semi, or somewhere where someone lives, a little residential house.
Yeah.
Because it's just all there, it's all built up, it's all waiting, Yeah. So I think we had that conversation quite a bit when we were filming, about just these unassuming, normal streets, and houses, and the things that go on. It's fascinating. It's not always the big castles,
That's right. Yeah, definitely.
But if you think as well about all the streets and all the houses, and in a lot of the places there've been settlements there for hundreds of years, perhaps. And when you think of all the people that have lived and died and worked on those sites, there will be a lot of spirit energy around, and it's just capturing that, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's the layers of history, isn't it? And, you could say that, well, a castle will have layers of history too, but it's the concentration of lives and souls, isn't it? Like you say, in a street of terraced houses, you've got more people living, dying there than inside a castle. It's more intense, it's more concentrated. Of course, you're going to have more activity in a normal street.
Definitely. So do you have any ambitions now, Jane? Any more ambitions that you've not achieved yet?
To get a good night's sleep. That would be my first one. The sleep, joking aside, the sleep when you're filming House is Haunted is horrendous because you basically just don't get any.
Really?
You film overnight, so we sort of started maybe 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening of the investigation, and then right the way through until sort of 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. And then the next day, you may sleep for a few hours in the morning, but then you've got all of the evidence to go through. So ready for what we call the reveal when we meet with the people who live at the property the following day. So body clocks were all over the place. Took weeks and weeks to sort of get right, but with having kids as well, you never have an amazing night's sleep. Obviously, Barry's got 7 girls. So I'm sure he still hasn't had a good night's sleep either. But no, other ambitions, I don't know. I am starting a couple of things next year which I'm working on with some friends, which we haven't sort of put out there yet. So I can't really talk about, or won't talk about, but those are exciting. They're different, they're not, I try to do things a bit differently if I can. The events that we organise at HD Paranormal are not just your average ghost hunt. I like to do something a bit different, like we've hired an old steam train to do a ghost train, or, we'll just try and do something out of the norm, or go to places that don't usually get investigated. So I've got 1 or 2 of those up my sleeve for early next year. I'd just like to keep ticking over, I think, and just keep, hopefully people won't get bored of me. That's my main ambition, Neil. I know it's not a big one.
I don't think anyone's going to get bored of you, Jane.
Oh, thank you. Well, I hope not. I mean, as long as I stay interested in it all, then I'll keep doing what I'm doing. I think when it's time to bail out, when you start just doing it, for the sake of it, you have to love what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely.
So, as long as I can keep doing what I'm doing, and I'm lucky because I can work from home, so I do all the school runs and whatnot, and I'm always at school when I need to be for different plays and stuff like that. So as long as I can keep ticking over, then I'll be happy.
Well, that's the important thing, being a parent, isn't it? Yeah,
of course. Yeah. Well, that's number one. I mean, there's been times when I've been asked to do things and I've thought, I don't know if I can do it. I'm going to be away from home for 4 or 5 days or 2 weeks on the trot, with How My House is Haunted. And it was really a big concern of mine, in accepting. I thought, how on earth am I going to be away from my family, from my kids for 2 weeks? That's just, because I'm here all the time, pretty much. But, I got used to it, they got used to it. And I think it's good to do things like that sometimes, kind of push yourself out of that comfort zone, isn't it? Because if you don't, you'll never do anything. So
on How My House is Haunted, do you do go through all the footage yourselves then?
Yeah, myself, Chris and Barry have to go through all of the footage, all of our audio, because we record with our own recorders. So we go through all of that. The only time that we might sort of call upon any of the radio mic audio or any of the cruise footage is if we thought we heard something, but it's not on ours. So, you know, if we're somewhere and Barry will often hear something, a DVP, direct voice phenomenon, he'll often hear, you know, a name or a word, and we don't get it. And we're like, I didn't hear it. And we'll go on the recorders. No, it's not there. Sometimes when we ask Owen, our sound guy, he will have it on the radio mics because they're so sensitive.
Yeah.
But other than that, no, we have to go through it all. And, you know, usually we end up in one of our rooms all together and huddled around one laptop. And Chris will say, what do you think this says? And we're listening. And he, you know, he'll hear something with his American ear. Yeah. And I'll listen and I think, no, it says something else because I'm, you know, kind of hearing it differently. So, yeah, we spent a long time kind of toing and froing over what this says or does it say anything, you know, what's this, what's that. But it's good, you know, it's not just a kind of facade for the programme. You know, when you're doing it, you are working as a team and, you know, there are things we disagreed on, you know, there are a couple of fallouts and whatever, but that's good. You know, it's people being themselves. It's no good to kind of just smile and nod all the time, is it? So, but on the whole, we got on really well, and it's interesting going through evidence with people who you haven't worked with on evidence before, because for me and my team and my husband in particular, we've worked together doing this kind of thing for a long time. You kind of get in tune with each other, so you hear the same things and you see the same things. And so I found it really interesting with Barry picking up different things, Chris hearing it a different way. It kind of, I don't know, it kind of refreshes your whole outlook on it all, you know.
And having spent the evening with Barry, he's got supersonic hearing, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. Well, I don't know if you know, and I'm sure he won't mind me telling you because he does talk about it in this series, but he's deaf in one ear.
Oh, really?
Has been from birth. I hope he doesn't mind me saying. I'm sure he won't. But yeah, something very interesting happened connected to that at one of the places we went to, which I won't say. People will have to watch. But it was fascinating. We didn't know until that point, and then something happened, and he said, "Well, you know, I've been deaf in this ear since birth, I think."
Oh, blimey.
So it does. His other ear compensates or overcompensates, so he can apparently hear a wider frequency range than most of us can because of that. So yeah, he does often hear things that we don't hear, and most of the time when we play back the recording, it's there, and it's amazing. You know, I think, oh, how did you hear that? And I didn't. You know, it's a bit like dogs. Dogs can hear things that we can't. It's like, oh, super hearing. Yeah.
Okay. You've got a weekend coming up soon, haven't you? Weekend in Gloucester.
Yes, I have.
That's sold out yet?
It's almost sold out. We've got 3 tickets left. So it's either 1 bedroom if people want to have a triple room, or it'll be 2 if we get sort of a double and a single. But 3 tickets left, yes. I'm really looking forward to it myself. It's one of those things. I don't tend to do an event unless it's something I would want to do anyway myself. So Gloucester is something I've wanted to do for a while, you know, to get to Woodchester Mansion and investigate the New Inn, but Chavenage House as well. It doesn't do ghost hunts. They don't have sort of paranormal groups in, but the family are going to show us around and give us the ghost tour. It's one of the most haunted buildings in Gloucestershire, but they kind of keep it a little bit on the quiet. But they've got some amazing stories. They did feature years ago, actually, on Great British Ghosts with Michaela. So I'm really looking forward to going there. We're going to have lunch there and the tour. And then, Woodchester Mansion on the night. So that'll be a full-on day of it. But I mean, I can't wait. It's rolling around really quickly now, actually.
Whenabouts is that one?
That's from the 4th to the 6th of October, so it's the first weekend in October. My team will all be there. We're keeping it to a small group, so there's just 30 of us. That's including my team. So 25 places. I didn't want to take, hordes and hordes of people. I think that spoils the experience for everyone. I think if you're in a massive group of 40 or 50 people, it just kind of becomes too noisy and too busy. I like to have, quiet little groups doing things. It's better. But before that, I've got my ghost train that is sold out in September.
Whereabouts is that then?
The ghost train's on the Severn Valley Railway. So we get the train from Kidderminster. And it runs all the way through to Bridgnorth. So it's an hour on the train and then a ghost walk around Bridgnorth, which I'll lead and tell the ghost stories. And then we'll have food. And then we get back on the train for ghost train stories on the way back. So
sounds really good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. I do a lot of, talks and tours and things, not just ghost hunts. So I obviously you've gathered I can talk quite a bit. So yeah, just an hour of me walking around telling ghost stories. It's gives me the chance to just talk. And then I'm at obviously Karen's Supernatural Fair in September.
I'm going to mention that one. You're looking forward to that one?
I am, yeah, I really am. I'm really proud of her. She did the one in Evesham, didn't she? Which you and I were both at, and Jane, and it went so well for her that she's gone all out on this one, big venue, and. Yeah, I think it's going to be brilliant. I think there's already a bit of a buzz about it. So
yeah, there is. There seems to be a lot of people talking about it.
Yeah,
really, and of course, you are doing a long talk.
I am. I've got 90 minutes. But I think as part of that, as you probably know, I'm going to do a bit of just a paranormal panel, like a Q&A, just a bit of a natter.
Yeah.
So yourself, your good self, and Paul Stevenson from Haunted Mag, and Karen and me, and we just all have a good natter about stuff. Yeah, so that'll be good. But yeah, it's a free day for people, isn't it? So I think why not? I think people will pop in and out as they want to and visit all the stalls. Should be good.
Yes, it's free to get in, free parking. Worcestershire County Cricket Club. So it'd be nice looking around the cricket club as well, because I like cricket.
Yeah, and I've never been there, so I'm looking forward to that.
No, I'm not. I've never been, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm a bit nervous about my talk.
Oh, you'll be fine. What's your talk about? Objects?
I don't know. Yeah, yeah. It'll be about objects.
Well, it's stuff that you know inside out, so you'll be fine, won't you? And chances are, Neil, most of the faces looking at you will be people that you know.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I'm going to bring my team members down with me anyway, so
yeah.
They've got to ask me some questions I know the answers to.
You need to prime them with some pre-approved questions. That's it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Good day. It's going to be a good day.
Yeah. Well done, Karen, for organising it.
I know, bless her. She's brave, isn't she?
Yes. She was nervous. She was nervous about the one at Evesham, wasn't she?
Yeah, I think it's just that pressure, isn't it, of nothing going wrong. But things like that, people, we're all adults, we're all there, because we're interested in the same thing. So if things do go a bit funny, you just get on with it, don't you? But nothing went wrong. I'm sure it went.
It went really well. I remember when I first walked into the main room, Karen came up to me and says, "I'm Neil." She says, "Oh, I'll put you next to Jane, so you're with someone you know." I thought, I've never met Jane before.
Bless her. Bless her. I know she thinks that everyone knows me, and I don't know a lot of people, but we knew each other within 5 minutes, didn't we, Neil?
We did, yeah. And MJ was there. It was nice meeting MJ as well.
She was, yes, and the world didn't explode. We were in the same room together. I know we don't often get the chance to be at the same things at the same time, so that was nice.
Yeah, it was good fun. It was good fun.
It was.
So, what else what other projects have you got coming up?
Let's think. Well, Halloween, I'm doing another bit of a quirky one. I'm doing a Victorian seance experience at Himley Hall. That's sold out, but I'm looking. It's going to be costumed. So me and the team are all in Victorian costume, and we're doing we're having a meal first, and then tour of the hall, which they don't normally let people do. Again, it's one of those places where they don't do paranormal stuff. So we're really lucky. Tour of the grounds, telling the ghost stories in the hall. And then I'm having some sort of Victorian stalls. So we'll have a palm reader and a tarot reader and different things. And then to end, the big Victorian seance, which I'm really looking forward to. It's going to be like a Victorian parlour, all very dimly lit.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'll be good.
I love seances.
Yeah, I do as well. I just love I love that era anyway, the kind of elegance of it all. But to recreate it fully in proper sort of style, I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah. But then I've got a bit of a weird one in December. I'm doing a secret ghost hunt, which is it's a place that I was approached about because they actually wanted me to investigate it. And when I went there, I just thought, oh, this is really interesting. I know a lot of people who'd love this, but they didn't want me to advertise the fact that it was haunted. They said, well, yeah, we don't mind you doing one of your events here, but can you kind of keep it quiet? And I was like, well, I don't know how I'm going to do that if I'm going to want people to come along. So I came up with the idea of the secret ghost hunt. Everyone likes a good mystery.
Yeah.
But it's on the 7th of December. It's a Saturday. It's only £25, so it'll cover the cost of the hire. I just want people to come along and kind of have a bit of mystery.
Yeah.
So I've got that coming up as well. And then that will pretty much see me through this year. I don't tend to do much of a December, not with Christmas and my birthday. So
birthday as well.
Birthday as well on the 30th, day before New Year's Eve.
Capricorn.
Sorry?
You're a Capricorn then.
I am a Capricorn, very stubborn, yes. Fortunately for my husband. But then again, he's a Taurus, so he's a bull, so he's worse.
Yeah.
But then just kick off again next year. So
that is sorry, go on.
No, I'm going to say it's all fun and games. Can't believe it's 2020 next year. I don't know what's happened.
This year's gone so quick, it's a bit scary.
It is. It's flying by, isn't it?
Yeah, certainly has. They always say that. I mean, I remember my mum saying that to me, as you get older, the years, they just go quicker. But they actually do.
You wait till you get my age.
Oh, Neil, what's that, 35?
All I'll say is I've got a big birthday in January.
Oh. Were you a Capricorn as well?
No, I'm an Aquarian.
Aquarius.
January the 25th.
Okay.
So we're gonna have a big birthday day up here. So if you're free on January 25th, you're welcome to join us.
Oh, thank you very much. Oh, I totally forgot. I'm coming to your centre, aren't I, in December? That's another one.
Yeah, I don't know when.
I am coming. I've got my dates mixed up. No, I'm coming to your centre on the 7th. That's where I'm coming. The secret hunts. I think it's the 14th.
The 14th. Oh, yeah, you're coming with Afterlife Solutions, aren't you?
That's it. Yeah, with Liam. Yeah, that's the 7th.
Yes. No, that's 14th.
That's the 14th.
You're coming on the 14th.
Do you know what, Neil? I need a PA. I need someone who's got some kind of organisation to just tell me what I'm doing and where and point me in the right direction. I'm terrible. Yes, that's it. 14th.
You'll be up here on the 14th.
Smashing. I can't wait, actually. I can't believe I've still not been. It's ridiculous.
No, for me.
Madness.
I will always remember the video you sent me after I just opened.
Oh, yeah.
You remember? It was really nice of you.
Oh, I forgot about that. But do you know what? I remember thinking when I saw this centre was opening, I thought, that is brilliant. I couldn't stop smiling. I thought, that is amazing because someone has had the balls to just do it. Because, as I said before, when I had all of these objects in my basement, people used to kind of crack a joke, say, oh, you should open a museum, get people in. And I just thought, I couldn't do that. I wouldn't be sort of brave enough to do that. So when I saw that you were opening yours, I thought, do you know what? Fair play to you. That's a brilliant idea. So I was so pleased that it's been going well. I just can't believe I haven't been.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to coming up.
We'll put that to right in December. Then you'll come up.
So
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too. It'll be a good night. I'm going to sit in that. Is it a wheelchair? Sit in your wheelchair. Yeah.
Everyone loves the wheelchair.
Oh, you'll be like a little kid in a sweet shop when you get up here.
I will. That's the problem. That's the trouble. Saying that, it's not too bad because I can't buy anything, can I? So I'm all right. I can leave my purse at home. I won't have to be tempted by all your lovely objects.
I suggest you bring your purse because we do have things to sell in the tea room.
very good.
And
Well, well then.
every Saturday night after I've had a tea, and the first thing my wife Julie will say is, "Did anyone buy anything?" Because
Yeah.
Julie looks after this side, and she gets so excited. I says, "Yeah, I've sold 80 quid's worth."
Oh, so you're in the good books then, Neil?
Yeah, it's easy to get in the good books.
Well, I've joined. I'm a member now, aren't I? As
You
well,
are,
you're
you
lovely
are.
membership.
You are a paid up member. Thank you very much.
Fully paid up. No, you're welcome. You're welcome. I meant to do it ages ago. You know I did. I told you I was going to do it and didn't. So I need a nudge every now and then. Like I say, my memory, since having children, since becoming a mum, I don't know what's happened. I've got about half the brain cells I used to have, I think. So I do forget stuff.
Yeah, you wait till you get in your late 50s.
Oh, you've given it away now, what your big birthday is.
Yeah, I'm 60 in January.
Brilliant. Good.
I can't believe it.
And you don't look a day over 65.
Oh, thanks, Jenny.
Oh, it's nice to have support, isn't it? That's good.
It's lovely. And the funniest thing is, Julie was arranging this surprise birthday party up here on January 25th, which is a Saturday. And guess who's booked a team in that night?
Oh, no, who?
I've booked a team in.
Oh, you have?
Because it was a surprise birthday.
Oh.
I said, well, you should tell me.
So is it actually the 25th that's your birthday?
Yeah.
Oh.
I said, what we'll do is have the sort of day, the all day as in my birthday, then we can go out in the evening. I'll leave the team on their own.
That's it. You have the full 24 hours worth of birthday.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't blame you.
And some of the regulars who come up every Saturday, they've ordered me a cake already.
Yeah.
So,
Now, is it going to be a ghost cake or will it have Haunted Antiques Paranormal Research Centre written across the top?
I think it'll probably have Haunted Antiques written on
I
top.
think so.
I think so.
It's got to, hasn't it?
So,
Oh, you'll have to take loads of photos.
oh, yeah.
You can see
Well,
your cake.
if you're free, you're always welcome to come.
25th. All right. I will do. I'll remember that.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank
So,
you.
I don't know how long we got left. How did you enjoy Bosworth Hall a few weeks ago?
Oh, I really liked it, actually. Yeah, I mean, I love just coming along anyway and meeting up with everyone again, like you and...
Well, we're running. I say, thanks, Jane. We've got to say goodnight.
All right.
Thank you very much for being our guest.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Thanks to everyone for listening to our first show. We will see you again next Tuesday at the same time. So thanks, guys, and we'll say goodnight.
Yeah, good night.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.